Welcome in, Season 43, Episode 12. I'm Pastor Seth Wilkerson, pastor of Harvest Church Humboldt. We're going to talk about parenting with the big picture in mind in just a moment. But right now, let's take a look at the weekly schedule as we've got a busy week coming up here at Harvest Church Humboldt. Sunday morning, we do have worship in the sanctuary at 10 a.m. I'm going to preach a message entitled, The End is Near. Sunday night, we will have our prayer time at 4 o'clock, focus prayer at 4:40, student check-in at 4:45, with Sunday school and Bible study time at 5 p.m. Sunday night. And Brother Heath Curtis will be teaching in the sanctuary. We have Brother Darren and Sister Gabby Nevels in our youth classroom. And then also in our Harvest Kids staff will be in the fellowship hall with our children as we all study the topic of I Can Do All Things. It's going to be a great night, Sunday night at 5 p.m. Monday night is Celebrate Recovery down at the Helping Hand in Humboldt at 7 p.m. Tuesday night is our Easter Focus Prayer at 7 p.m. Wednesday night, the 26th, I'm going to preach a message entitled Managing the Miracle. Managing the Miracle. That's at 7 o'clock. We also have our children's class and an attended nursery on Wednesday night. Thursday morning is Ladies' Prayer, and at 5 p.m. on the 29th, our Harvest Music team is meeting, and they're getting ready for a brand new Easter season, all of that coming up. Hey, if you're not making plans yet for Easter, why don't you put Harvest Church on your plans right now? We got a 2-day event this year. The 19th from 2 to 6 p.m. will be a big family day at our parking lot at the church. And then on Sunday, a big Easter Sunday worship service at 10 a.m. April the 20th. So Saturday and Sunday this year. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about parenting with the big picture in mind coming up next. I am convinced after talking with hundreds of parents that most parents lack a big overarching vision that guides all that they do with their children. Sure, they want their children to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. They want them to obey the Word of God and be born again of water and spirit. And they hope that they'll have an athletic and musical ability along with a good education, marriage, and career. But at the street level, they're just reacting to whatever comes at them on a particular day. Yes, they may say and do many good things with their children. Yes, they are sincere about their children's spiritual life. And yes, they work to reinforce a set of rules to shape their children's behavior, but it's a reactive system. The problem with reactive parenting is that it lacks a big picture, which enables parents to interpret what is going on in the hearts and lives of their children, and thus target the significant heart issues that are really the focus of all good and successful parenting. This inadequate vision leaves these parents with a neat system set up to control, regulate, and conform the behavior of these children. Now, if all you do is control the behavior of your children when they are in the home with you, then when they leave your home, they will have nothing. When they leave home and no longer have that system of control over them, their lives will go with their heart, where their heart has been for a long time. So, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Every year, thousands of supposedly Christian young people go off to residential universities and they forsake the faith. I would propose to you that they are not forsaking the faith at all. I propose they never had it in the first place. They grew up under a system of control that forced the faith upon them, but when they got to college and the system vanishes, their true hearts reveal themselves. Reactive parenting has another problem. Since it lacks a grand big vision, it tends to be way more determined on any given day by emotion or the mood of the parent. The thing that was okay yesterday is not okay today because mom isn't doing well. Or the thing that made dad angry yesterday doesn't seem to bother him at all today. And instead of children being molded by a consistent standard, they become emotional weathermen, reading the weather of their parents to see what they can do or cannot get away with. Siblings will even have conversations to find out if one or the other is cued into how their parents are doing on any given day. And this is simply not the way that God intended children to be parented. It becomes an emotionally driven behavior control system that misses both the centrality of the heart and the transforming power of the gospel to create lasting changes in a child's behavior. Here's what every parent needs to understand. Your child doesn't just have a behavior problem, he or she has a heart problem. The Bible teaches that all the words and behavior of a child are controlled, shaped, and directed by what is in that child's heart. And the core dysfunction of the heart of every child doesn't have to do with law, it has to do with awe. Every child is born with a heart controlled more by awe of self than by awe of God. Let me say it this way. Every child comes into the world embracing two very seductive but equally seductive lives. First is the lie of autonomy. Autonomy says, I am an independent human being and I have a right to live my life the way I want to live it. Those early battles that you have with your child about what to eat, what to wear, and when to go to sleep are not just about those issues. Your child is pushing back because your child does not want to be ruled. She sees herself in the center of her universe, or he has appointed himself as a little self-sovereign. And although they have no understanding of a healthy human diet, what is appropriate to wear, when, and the amount of sleep a healthy child requires, they're going to fight you because they do not want to be told what to do. That's why a little boy will scream no at an adult 4 times his size, or a little girl will stiffen up in anger and turn red. They're after autonomy. They want no other authority over them than their own. The second lie is the lie of self-sufficiency. And this lie says, I have everything I need inside myself to be what I'm supposed to be and to do what I'm supposed to do. Although young children have almost no understanding of the world around them, they will resist help because they want to hold on to the delusion that they do not need wisdom, instruction, or correction. And so these two lies were first told by the serpent in the Garden of Eden and unleashed an unspeakable chain of disastrous consequences on the physical world and on humanity. Now, it's important to understand that these laws reveal that your child is not only a law problem, which he or she does, but a deeper and more formative awe problem. Children will only live as God has ordained them to live if their hearts have been freed from their bondage to awe of self and have been captured by the awe of God. So, parents, it simply doesn't work to just have a law system as the model for your parenting. Now, you may be thinking, but don't my children need rules and enforcement in their lives? Don't they need constant authority? Of course they do. But these things by themselves are not enough. If all your children needed was a tight system of law to be what they're supposed to be and to do what they're supposed to do, Jesus would never have had to come and live a perfect life, shed his precious blood, and rise again from the grave. The gospel of Jesus Christ tells us that this kind of parenting simply is not enough. Do your children need the law? Yes, they do. God employs the law to help your children see how spiritually needy they are. The law tells your children how God wants them to live, but the law can never, ever deliver them from the sin and self-worship that have captured their hearts. So our parenting must target the central heart issue of our children. We know that as long as their hearts are ruled by awe of self, they will push against authority, they will go their own way, and they will practically ignore the God who created and sustains them. So this means that our parenting must be guided by a great big awe agenda. We need to do everything we can to put the glory of God and his grace before our children so that the awe of God would rule over our hearts. Now, maybe you're thinking, Paul, how in the world do we do that? I'm afraid that for many of us, the only time we regularly refer to God as parents is when our children will not listen to us, and so we get God out as the ultimate threat. God is watching, and he could crush you like a bug, This just makes the hearts of children want to run away from such a God. Well, God in his condescending love and mercy has helped us here because he has created his world in such a way that it would reveal him. The fact that the physical world points to God is no accident. It was his divine intention as he was forming the physical universe with his awesome power. So God has made his power, faithfulness, wisdom, goodness, love, and mercy visible to us every day through the lens of the world that he created. Every glorious created thing points to a God of far greater glory. So parents, it's not unnatural to talk about God every day to your children. It's positively unnatural not to. God made hot, God made cold. God made water that freezes on one end and boils on the other. Wow. God made the delicacy of a lily, the inexhaustible wings of a hummingbird, the lumbering gait of an elephant, the multicolored stripes of a rainbow, the terror of a storm, the processes of the earth to supply us food that we can eat, the splash of stars at night, and a myriad of other things to see and hear, touch, and taste every single day. You just can't get up in the morning without bumping into God. Every day it's God here, God there, God over there, and there, and there. Now, parents, you need to understand something further. You are parenting children who have a perverse ability to look at the world around them and not see God. Sin and self blind the eyes of your children to the glory everywhere around them. The glory that has the power to change their hearts and put them in their proper place. They see the tree, but they don't see the glory. They taste the sumptuous meal, but they don't see the awesome God who made everything they just enjoyed. They may be afraid of the storm, but they have little fear of the power of the one who sent it. The disaster of spiritual blindness is one of the reasons God put you on earth and in the lives of your children. He has strategically positioned you so that you would function as his instruments of seeing, pointing to his presence, power, and glory over and over every day. He has called you to be a tool that recaptures the awe of your children's hearts so that awe of him would reign where awe of self once did. You can nurture that change as a result of his grace, but you are called to commit yourself to being a tool of this awe recapturing agenda. And I would encourage you to read Psalm 145. It'll help you there. I don't really have time to go into that, but let me get practical for just a moment. So when you go to the petting zoo with your little girl, talk about the God who made each distinctive characteristic of every single animal. When you bake bread, talk about how the rising of dough is just one of millions of physical chemical processes that came out of the mind of God. When your child smells that beautiful flower, talk about how God created the smells and then God gave us the organs in our body to take them in and enjoy them. When you're hiking with your son through the woods, talk about the one who created these huge organisms with arms that reach toward the heavens. When your child is sick, talk about the one who created all the delicate interdependent systems of the body that must work in complete harmony for us to be well. When your daughter's complaining about the rainy weather, talk about what an awesome job it would be to control the world's weather, yet God does it every single day. Have your son make faces in the mirror and then talk about how God designed all those little muscles in his face to allow us to communicate so much without saying a word. I could go on and on and on. We live in an awesome, never-ending glory display, and it's our job, and it should be our joy to point our children to his glory again and again. But here's the rub. In parenting, it's very hard to give away what you don't already have. In many of our homes, it's not just our children who are blind to the awesome display of the presence of God and his power and his glory everywhere. We also, as parents, are blind to it from time to time. So perhaps we should start asking God not to open just our children's eyes, but first to open ours so that we can help them to see. It is impossible to point someone to something that you do not see. Maybe you're saying to yourself right now, but I just want to have children who obey and do what's right. So what's the only pathway to complete and willing submission to God's authority and his law? Well, it's only when our children are living out of a heartfelt awe of God that is being modeled before them by us. Let's get even more specific today. Perhaps parents, you don't have any independent authority over your children. None. Your children haven't given to you an indenture, haven't been given to you rather as indentured servants to make your life easier. They have not been given to build your identity or prop up your reputation. No, they are not to be viewed as potential trophies on the mantle of your success. The only kind of authority you have is representative or ambassadorial, if I can say it that way today. Here's God's plan. God intends to make his invisible authority visible in the lives of children through their parents, who exercise their authority in submission to him. Parents, there is no higher calling than this. You have been chosen to visibly represent the authority of God. You are the look on God's face. You are the tone of God's voice. You are the touch of his hand. You are his character and attitude. This means that every time you exercise authority in the lives of your children, it needs to be a beautiful picture of the patient, firm, gracious, wise, loving, tender, merciful, forgiving God. Why? Because your job is to leave your children in awe of the stunning, rescuing beauty of God's authority. This means that every time your authority is exercised in a selfish, impatient way, you are not a part of what God's wanting to do in the child's life. When you express your authority this way, you don't lead your children to stand in awe of the beauty and helpfulness of God's authority. No, you help deepen the natural rebellion your children has toward it. You know that when anyone has gotten up in your face and ripped into you, you have never felt thankful, loved, or helped. That's never made you feel rescued and cared for. And in those situations, you have never felt like you're being blessed with rare wisdom. No, you just want the pain of the demeaning onslaught to end. You see, if my child has an awe problem in his heart and I have been sent to visibly represent the God who should be at the center of his awe capacity, then the manner in which I respond to my child's decisions and how they act affects the way they view God himself. I'm not saying we don't discipline our children. We have to, but we must do it out of love. We must do it out of love. You and I can't recapture the hearts of our children. Only God can. And we've got to understand that. We need to understand that this is the mission he's called us to be a part of. We need to recognize the daily evidence that our children live out of an attitude and behavior shaping awe of self. And we need to do everything we can to point them to God's visible glory so that the hearts of our children will, by grace, be captured by awe of him. We don't need to finally realize that it's not enough to announce and enforce God's law. We should carry out both of these charges, but we must also do more than just do that. We must submit our parenting to the reality that only when our children are in awe of God will they surrender their lives to his control. Will they heed the call of his word? Will they esteem the authorities that God has graciously placed over them? To do this, we also need to be rescued by his grace. We need to be rescued not from our children, but from the selfishness and the pride of our own hearts. Thankfully, Jesus purchased this rescue. Turn to the Lord. He's able to help you in your time of need. Thanks for tuning in to the Harvest Focus today. Once again, I'm Pastor Seth Wilkerson, and if you want to know more about our church, we invite you to go to our website, harvesthumboldt.com. That's harvesthumboldt.com. You can also download our app, and that will also keep you up to date on what's going on at Harvest Church as well. Get connected to us on X, on Instagram, on Facebook. We're all the time active on our social media channels, posting different content that will bless you and your family. If you want to write us, you can write us at 3401 Bledsoe Road, Humboldt, Tennessee, 38343. You can also email me at pastorsethwilkerson@gmail.com. Until next episode, God bless you, folks. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Harvest Focus.